When you first teach place, you always want place to be associated with a calm, safe place for your dog. So we're going to walk Kaya up to place. Let's go. And right before she gets on, I'm going to say place. I'm going to wait for eye contact. Let's go. And we're going to repeat this. Let's go, Kaya. Place. Good girl. Let's go. Good girl. Let's go. Place. So we want the dog to start to correlate that eye contact gets them released from place. Kaya's starting to catch on, so she's sitting down, she's looking at me. Let's go. So we're going to release her. We're going to slowly build this up over time, where ultimately we want the dog to be able to relax, lay down on their own, and make eye contact with you for the release. But know that every dog is different depending on the environment that you're in, how anxious they are, how new they are to this concept before they'll fully relax and be able to lay down. We want to take baby steps, and we want to help associate this with a calm and safe place for them. And you always want the eye contact to be very organic. They look at you on their own without any prompting. And in the beginning, you're definitely going to want to take any type of eye contact. So even if it's just a glance, totally fine to release that dog. Let's go. So it's also really important when your dog is on place that you're not baby talking them, you're not constantly petting them. You just really want this to be a safe place where they know they can go here and it can be a timeout for them. They can shut their brain off. Nobody or nothing is going to get to them when they're on place. Now we have Kaya. She laid down on her own. She's yawning. Now I know she's working through this and she is a lot more comfortable. So now we're just going to wait for some eye contact and we will release her. Let's go. Good girl. Let's go. Go. Place. Good girl. The other thing about place is that we never want to release place from a distance. So we want our dogs to understand when they're on here, it is a boundary, but they're not always focused on us and constantly watching our every move in hopes that they're going to get released. So we always want to associate the release with calmness. We want to release calmly, and we want our dog to be in a calm state to be able to get rewarded. So it's really important when you're working through all of these commands that your dog is always getting rewarded in a calm state. And this is why it helps a lot to have some space and do movement when you're first teaching place. So here she's kind of fighting me a little bit, which is okay. So I'm just putting light pressure on the leash. As soon as she takes one step forward, I'm releasing that pressure and I'm reapplying it if she's still not to where I want her to be. So I just do a little bit of pressure and release on the leash to help guide her to place, get her on place. So you can see when I'm releasing her, it's very calm. It's very welcoming, but I'm also right next to her. Kaya, let's go. Once you've built up place as a safe place for your dog, this is where you can start to add distractions and practice a little bit more impulse control. So when your dog is choosing to go to place, they're correlating that it's a safe place, they're able to relax and turn their brain off. Now we can start to use this for a little bit of impulse control. What we do and how we set our dogs up for this is we want them to stay on place even when we're walking away. The good thing here with Kaya is that she's still in a very relaxed state no matter where I'm going. She understands that she's going to get released. She also knows she's very safe here. Even though I'm walking around, she's not hyper tense and hyper focused on me. This is where you can start kind of testing your dog. So maybe you grab a toy. You're waving it around. They're really excited about the toy. And you start with just a little bit of impulse control, throwing the toy on the ground and teaching them that even though things are out, that doesn't necessarily mean that they can get to them. This is why place is such a great tool for if you're cooking in the kitchen and you want your dog to be with you, but you don't want to be tripping over your dog. This is a great option. So they can be in the kitchen with you, but you're defining a boundary. So you're not worrying about unwanted behaviors like counter surfing, tripping over them jumping into things. This is a great way to set a boundary in the kitchen by using place. Same thing if you're working on boundaries with the furniture, or if you're watching TV and you have guests over and you're watching a game or something, you can always use place in the living room and put them on place. They're allowed to be in there with you. They also know they're safe from people there. If they're a little afraid of people, or maybe they don't want to be pet, they can also go there as an escape. But they also can set a boundary for your dog if you have an overly excited dog, that they can't be jumping on the couch with your guests or constantly pawing them for attention or always being all up in your guest's business. I always like to keep a leash on my dog when I'm teaching them something new, and you can always use a tether if you need to, if you're starting to build up that impulse control and you want to practice with something specific, you can do that as well. But it's really important that you spend a good amount of time laying the foundation, associating place with a very calm, safe place, and then add in impulse control in working on holding that boundary. Because if you don't lay the foundation for your dog of this is a safe place, it's going to be unfair to ask them to hold this position when something may be scary, and you are going to advocate for their space when they're on place. Here I'm going to just do a demonstration of using place if someone was to walk into your home. You can use this whether your dog is overly excited, or whether you have a fearful dog, or a dog that barks or is more nervous to greet people. So here I'm going to have somebody walk in. So it's really important that, number one, when someone's walking into your home, you're advocating for space for your dog. So you're saying, no, she doesn't want to be pet, or wait until my dog calms down. But in the meantime, we're not going to ask a very excited or nervous dog to hold this spot. So in the meantime, I'm asking her to stop, and I'm saying, let's go to Kaya, and I'm removing her off place away from the trigger, whether she's excited or she's nervous. We're going to walk away, and then we're going to come back to place, and I'm still going to be putting myself between our new guest and my dog, because whether she's trying to get to, whether my dog Kaya is trying to get to Jordana here because she's excited and wants to greet her, or because she's afraid of her, it's still important that we wait for our dog. Get back on place, girlfriend. It's still important to wait for our dogs to calm down before we're releasing them, whether it's an excited state or a nervous state. So now Kaya is calm, but again, we'll always advocate for space for our dogs. So whether that means we help them create it, we stop people from coming in and petting them, or we wait for them to calm down so that we can still communicate with them and make sure they're not jumping or getting overly stimulated. So we're in the kitchen, and again, place is all about helping us to our dogs feel safe, but it's also a very good tool for us to set boundaries within the home. Here, this is a really good way to use place to prevent your dogs from trying to get up on the counter to see what you're doing, or if you're trying to have guests over for dinner, they're not constantly in the way. The last thing that you want when you're hosting Thanksgiving or friends over for the night is for your dog to constantly be sniffing and begging at the table. You don't want them constantly under your feet while you're trying to move plates and dishes and pans from one place to the other. I have a clear pathway. Kaya's here, she's just hanging out. If I want to get coffee, I can reach over her and pour myself some coffee. Just moving around the kitchen, opening up things, getting out books, moving dishes, reaching up here, and she's just chilling. I have free movement in my kitchen, and it feels amazing. My dog's able to hang out with me, but I'm not worried about tripping on them. I'm not worried about her bugging my guests or getting into my food, or me becoming a tripping hazard for me when I'm focused and in the zone of making whatever I'm making.